One. Hey everyone, welcome to another AI conversation, and I'm here today with Mr. Power BI Pilipinas, Tony Cua. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thank you. My pleasure and my honor.
Yeah, no, the
Siyempre,
honor is
to
mine, no? I mean, sabi ko nga, offline we were talking earlier na
mhm,
I didn't realize we were already connected, and it dates back to the
LinkedIn buddy.
refocus era.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm a big fan of Power BI Pilipinas. And maybe for I don't know, the one person who doesn't know who you are, maybe a brief background on yourself and your work.
Ah, well, trust me, there's a lot. So, ayan, sa mga hindi nakakilala, Tony Cua, Anthony Cua, you may call me Tony. So, I am the founder of PowerBI Pilipinas, isang maliit na Facebook group in the Philippines where people are mainly enthusiastic about Power BI, Microsoft Power BI. We have, last I checked, we are at 12,000 members. Very proud about that.
Strong.
And it's a lot of members who are actively helping each other. So, yeah, again, really happy about that. I'm currently working, or my day job is with T-Tech Digital. I am a senior manager for the business insights team. So yun, I guess, kumbaga, I'm living the dream. Ika nga. I am actually doing what my day job is, and doing it on the side as my community project in a way. At the same time, it's something that I am really passionate about. So everything kind of fell into place regarding that. And what else can I share? And of course, yeah, Microsoft MVP for 2023. Hopefully, may extend. Pero yun, so
Congrats.
thank you. So it's ano, tawag dito, renewal period ngayon eh. So this March. So hopefully that proceeds to next year. And what else? Yeah, that's I think that's mainly me in a nutshell. Father of
Yeah,
one.
great, great. T-Tech, no? IBPAP member. Am I correct?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Pero medyo ano na kasi ako, medyo disconnected na ako sa call center part of
Operations.
T-Tech, right?
Mm.
And nasa consulting side ako, which is yung T-Tech Digital, supposedly. So
Yeah.
yan yung, we were the separate consulting wing, and our clients are not necessarily the call center clients
The
themselves.
offshoring.
Tend
Okay.
to reach out, yeah.
But you deal with local customers or global customers in the
With
consulting side?
with my current clients, it's actually no, with all of our clients, it's all US sa
Are all
ngayon.
global? Okay,
Some
US.
yeah, some European pero mostly NA.
No, no, I think I totally relate with you on living the dream, no? Like once upon a time,
Yeah.
many people probably don't know this anymore. Kasi matagal na, but uh, I was, I spent almost about a decade and a half in banking, no?
Ay, alam ko yan. Yeah.
And all of that was
Yeah.
analytics. Unintentionally analytics. Pagkasabi ko unintentionally, and gusto ko rin marinig yung kwento mo. I didn't choose it as a career. Parang it chose me. And then interested din ako to learn about your journey with data
Mm-hmm.
visualization with Power BI. Because obviously, I think that's the gateway, quote unquote, the gateway drug to the rest of the analytical ecosystem. Sa akin nun, it
True,
was
true.
Excel, obviously. I'm sure Excel and Power BI, blend well together. Pero people tend to start in that path, how to
Lahat dadaan
visualize,
yata
mga
sa
ganyan.
Excel ngayon eh. Yeah.
Mm. Tsaka I don't know, maybe let's start it with this, no. Back in the day, when I say back in the day, almost 10 years ago actually, 2014, nauso yung term na data storytelling. Is that still a
Ah,
thing now or how has it
it
evolved?
is. Sa analytics practice, heavily. Kasi, uh, and siguro, somewhat. Kasi when we say, going back into what I actually do sa day job, it's either you create a report that is more infographic style, which is you're just trying to tell a story. You already have specific bits, tidbits, nuggets that you want to share. You found something, ganyan. So, yun yung data analytics side. Pero mas we tend to spend more time recently with the actual BI or reporting side of things,
Sure.
wherein it's a lot of interactivity with the reports. It's a lot of slicers and drill throughs na bahala na po kayo. Yeah, you can drill down. If you request for it to be exported to CSV, fine. Export to CSV to your heart's content. Pero kumbaga, it's a lot of trying to make sure that the users can self-service, can do what they want to do, drill what they want to drill. So, yung data storytelling side, nasa DA practice. And
Mhm.
it's still very much there, especially if you're the type na reports to someone above you, or sorry, hindi pala report, presents to someone above you, or presents to chief executive officer, C-level people. You always need to have that story. You need to always be able to summarize it, kumbaga, and okay, we went from this percent to that percent, but what does that mean? We have this measure that went up. Pero again, what does that really mean? What's the story behind it? So, yun doon mo napipeak yung interest usually ng senior leadership. So, it's very much alive siguro. And I think that is still the term up to today. It's still storytelling.
Yeah, it was such a hypnotic thing back in the day, no? And I'm sure you remember some of the people who were pretty prolific noon, sina Isaac Reyes, sina Dan
Mm.
Mayer. Sila talaga yung nagpauso ng term. But in a way, it had its own hype eh. Parang,
Oo.
a chart is a chart is a chart. Pero in the data storytelling world, wow, the charts are massive. I think how I feel about it is we've gone from one end of the spectrum, which is no one cares. And then the opposite end na parang, wow, it's such a mystical thing. And then now we're kind of settling in the middle. And then nandiyan na kayo, PowerBI Pilipinas, no? Sige, ang dami nating threads. Pero maybe we can start with I guess the beginnings of or why you did what you did. No? Why did you start the group? What was the opportunity that you saw at that time?
Yan,
How long has
magandang
it been around ba?
That's a good question. And lagi kong, hindi naman lagi, pero kinukwento ko to whenever there are younger ones. And we have a lot of young members, not just in my community, pero all over the tech communities in the Philippines. Eh. So, PowerBI Pilipinas I started it March 2020. Ay, oo nga, no, March. So yeah, I
Wow.
remember the
Happy
day, 4 years
anniversary.
ago. Thank you, oo nga.
Uh,
So that was March 2020, naalala ko yun kasi
4 years.
that was, ang alam ko that was me right after attending the February 2020 release of Power BI that was held in Ayala. So back then, Microsoft Philippines would have these monthly live meetings. So you can actually attend, go to Microsoft Philippines, get into a room, tapos their engineers would showcase what changed, what are the updates. And I really enjoyed that session. Tapos when I came back, I was really new with Power BI at that time as well. So that's kind of why I was there. I was looking for people to connect with, network with. At the same time, whenever parang I was only a user of Power BI back then for like 3 months, mga ganon. And I went back home thinking, pag may mga tanong ako, sana may matanungan akong local. Kasi I would sometimes have questions, ask around in forums, Reddit man yan, and it's always yung community, Microsoft community, which is global, na kailangan ko pa mag-English. It would be a Power BI community in Facebook, pero at the same time, global din. We didn't really have a local group na medyo chill vibe na maybe you can ask dumb questions in your local language, parang ganon. So, that's when I started PowerBI Pilipinas. Tapos, eto na, I'll just wait for people to join and we can talk about questions that we have. Because March 2020, relatively new, I think, yung Power BI. It was the time when Power BI is still playing a lot of catch up with Tableau.
Tableau was
So,
the big fish noong time na yun.
yes. Very much. Malayo pa yung gap nila that time, March 2020. So, I set it up, ganun. Tapos, sometimes what I would do is I would ask one question, post it sa iba't ibang forums, including Power BI Pilipinas. However, 2020, parang tuloy-tuloy yun hanggang almost end of 2020. Magtatanong ako rin yung sasagot. Kasi wala pa talagang members, walang sumasagot na iba. Pero kumbaga, gusto ko lang na hindi, at some point baka may sumali. At some point people will read this, people will use this as a resource, and it's a resource for me as well. So may mga tanong ako, I'd get answers from somewhere else, or I'd be able to research it somewhere, YouTube or what. And ako rin yung sasagot, ako yung tanong, ako yung sagot, ako na rin yung nagla-like ng sagot.
Yeah.
So parang ano lang talaga, naging vlog lang yung group for the first few months that it was live. And tuloy-tuloy lang yun. Medyo matagal na ganun until I think it took a year before it kinda started gaining traction.
Right.
Tapos pansin ko lang na medyo may mga iba nang nagtatanong, and I always back when it started, when it really started siguro mga 2021, ganyan, mid of 2021, lahat ng mga tanong doon, I made sure that I answer. Even if hindi ko alam ang sagot, what I would do is, I would personally research. Ako yung mag-google para sa kanila. I'll check it out. And it became like a growing practice for me as well kasi problema ng iba yun eh. And ako yung naghahanap ng paraan. So, it became practice for me as well.
Mhm.
Until yun nga, it came to a point na most of the answers yun nasasagot ko na. And kumbaga naging tech support na lang ako doon, live. And it came to a point na yun, dumadami na rin yung members. Hindi na ako yung sumasagot. Minsan may mas una nang makakasagot before me. And until I think nag-peak, nag-spike yung growth niya parang quarter 4 of 2021. So kumbaga more than a year. Doon na talaga siya nag-spike, doon na
2021.
napapansin.
So this was
Yeah.
the height of the pandemic, I guess, no? During that time.
Exactly, oo. So kumbaga, during pandemic period, I guess more people had more time. Look around, Facebook ang buhay. And doon na siya nag-ano, doon na rin ako, doon na rin nag-reach out yung isang Microsoft MVP sa akin na, uy, sayang yung mga ginagawa mo for this community. Maybe you want to, kumbaga, make it more consistent and kick it up a notch. And let's take a shot, see if MVP worthy, yung mga kumbaga nominatable, nominable yung mga
So
ginagawa
so
mo.
how do they do it? They look for projects or achievements that qualify as
Microsoft kasi, kumbaga, in one sentence, how they described it to me, it's about being a technical community leader. So,
wow.
community leader na ako noon and I was technical. So, kumbaga na-solve ko naman na lahat. It was just, ang natitira na lang, kumbaga, was, okay, technical community leader ka for Power BI, pero how do you set yourself apart in a way across all of the people who are really talented? And sila na mismo yung nag-advise actually yung mga yung community leader for Asia Pacific. She told me, si Elizabeth Papalyardo, hi. She told me that one easy way you can set yourself apart is by being that person, that guy in the Philippines, only in the Philippines. So yun yung parang naging goal ko. Whenever people think about Power BI, I want them to think Power BI Pilipinas.
You'll
I
be the
want them to
first
think,
top of mind.
yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
So medyo yun nga, yun naging pass ko. And I was the first, and up to now, medyo sad and happy, more sad na ako pa rin
That is
for
still
now,
you?
yung only data platform MVP in the Philippines.
I
So,
was gonna ask nga, are there any others? Or may baka even for other brands? Like, is there like a Tableau person? Parang wala, no?
yung
Or
nasa Tableau, hindi ko sure eh. Oy. Kasi dumaan ako sa Tableau, actually. Kumaga, nakagamit ako ng Tableau for a year din. Pero, yun nga, much advanced in terms, lalo na that time in terms of what they can do. Pero, more of, meron silang ang alam ko, ang sila Tableau back then, they had like these uh, sessions where you can like, kumbaga yung ginagawa sa data challenges in Power BI,
right.
where there's a data set, tapos people try to create report pages out of that. Yung Tableau may ganun, pero they do it every week. Parang parang ganun kadami yung kayang gumawa sa kanila. And yun, it's a bigger community, pero yeah, I know sina Google, sina AWS, may mga parang ganyan sila eh, parang mga MVPs or influencers that are for AWS, that are for Google Studio or what. Pero si Tableau nga parang wala akong or baka meron and hindi lang ako aware.
They're just not top of mind. I'm sure if we search on Facebook, there's possibly a
Yeah.
Tableau person. Pero not like Power BI
Tableau Zen
Pilipinas, no?
Masters yata pala, I think.
You
It's
know,
what they're,
do you know who's running it?
no idea.
Wala, no?
Sad.
Sorry, guys. Hindi lang top of mind. Maybe I'll look them up just to be fair.
Yeah.
Tama nga eh. Parang, and people I think love, speaking from experience, no? Especially lately with AI, they love gravitating towards a person that they can relate with.
Yeah.
So ikaw yon, no? Tony for Power BI.
Face.
In a way, I have a similar experience kasi nga, 'di ba, we were chatting offline. When I started getting noisy about I was surprised no one else so far, baka
Oh.
naman meron pero hindi ko lang napapansin, has stepped up to basically talk about it. Actually, it's not about ano naman eh. Kumbaga, hindi naman ako madamot diyan eh. In fact, I'm happy to endorse many other people if they can
Oo.
speak about it. Pero
Pero
yun na nga eh.
wala.
I don't know if the
Okay
market
lang.
is just too small or it's weird.
Or
Especially in
siguro
your case, 4 years na, no? Pero wala pa rin, ano?
pero sa akin kasi for me, mas madali nga kasi it's or maybe it's not. Again, double-edged sword kasi it's for me madali siya kasi it's a specific tool eh.
Yeah,
It's just Power BI.
yeah,
So you can kumbaga home in on that niche. Pero at the same time, I guess medyo napalaki ko na yung group, yung community that large na maybe other people are getting intimidated by it na magtayo ng separate one. Pero what I do for now is yung mga moderators ko, ini-encourage ko sila na, uy, baka may gusto kayong event or whatever idea you have. Kumbaga, we have the audience, set it up. Kumbaga, masusuportahan natin kayo.
yeah.
And shout out to one of my moderators, si Dane Bellarmino. For example, he opened a new page very recently and a new YouTube channel, Dax Jutsu yung
Oh,
pangalan. So, yun, kumbaga kasi he's very passionate about helping people out eh. Isa siya sa mga kilala kong, ang tawag sa kanila, basta super users sa Microsoft Fabric community. So
mm.
when you're a super user, kumbaga, merong mga requirements yun about the number of questions you've answered, the number of answers that actually got accepted by other forum
By the
members.
other members. Okay. So anyway, that's your cred, no? Credibility
Oo.
goes up.
So, ganun na siya and sinabi ko lang na well we have you're one of the moderators, we have this audience, and if you plan on and at the same time I am kind of nudging him towards MVP nomination as well.
Mm.
So yun, para may kasama naman ako, pero at the same time kumbaga he just needs to do a tiny bit more na community, hindi lang super user, hindi lang forum based, to spread the Power BI love and uh, get nominated with credentials underneath. This is what he's done.
Yeah. Sige, this now brings to mind something that I've been wanting to figure out. Because obviously, I spent a lot of years working with the AAP, no?
Mm.
Up until recently, I already stepped out of the board. Pero one of the things we were always obsessed with, obsessed, is how to profile itong mga data communities, no? For example, lately, nagkaroon na ng data engineering group,
Pilipinas. DT.
Pilipinas, which is great, no? And then, if we go back in time, right about the time you started Power BI Pilipinas, I would say, I think the blanket term is either business intelligence or analytics, eh. Although meron ding data science, daming overlaps. But if I'm going to, parang top of my head, think about who is doing what or what are people doing. There are certain groups that are quite, let's say, tool centric. No,
Mm.
My R group, my Python group,
Correct.
good. Then there are some groups that are more parang application centric. So may
Discipline.
visualization, yeah, di pa nga discipline eh. Or maybe I can call it that. May visualization group, I guess engineering, data engineering is one.
Analytics. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's I guess everyone who's obsessed with machine learning, ganyan, no?
Oo.
Pero I don't know, because it's been some time since I've gotten a look at how the communities have emerged. And then sa I think medyo prototypal pa eh. Kasi there's a big overlap with machine learning. Siyempre, AI leads
Mm.
that. Pero there's a growing trend na towards more broader applications. Lalo na nung nag-Gen AI.
Yeah, yeah.
Gen AI art, Gen AI copywriting, whatever, no? Actually,
Ah.
medyo taas ang kilay pa nga ng mga ibang tao sa grupo na yan eh. And that's what I'm trying to cultivate na you gotta break out of the mold na, hindi
Oo.
porke AI, you need to be neural networks, no? Although that's certainly
Oo.
a good thing. So, sige, let's zoom in tayo sa mundo mo. So, how much of, I guess, the community is really very tool-centric, Power BI? And how much is more like, I want to be a data storyteller? And then maybe as a
Ah.
third, parang blanket there, how many are more parang job or occupation centric? Kasi hindi mo rin mapeg masyado minsan yung visualization eh. Minsan it's BI, minsan it's data analyst, 'di ba? Parang ganon. And I
Correct,
feel
correct.
visualization exists in its own category eh, per se, no?
Oo.
Na those who
Or in
can
a way,
describe data basically, no? So how is it from your end? Mas I guess you're more in touch with that.
oh, although wala akong ngayon, I don't have the data to support it, pero kumbaga at least I can confidently say na yung mga the people who are inside PowerBI Pilipinas are really looking for Power BI stuff.
Right. So it's tool,
Uh,
no? Tool ang driver
oh,
niya.
medyo
Mm.
tool-centric. However, along with that, they are looking for or kumbaga a lot of the posts in the group that have gained pretty good traction is about job hiring, job
Jobs.
recruitment.
Mm.
So it's a lot of that kasi I kind of alluded to it earlier. There's a lot of really young blood in these groups, tech
Mhm.
groups in general, Power BI Pilipinas, Data Engineering Pilipinas, Data Analytics Pilipinas. Kumbaga, yeah, there are those tech career shifters. Again, another group.
Yeah.
So may mga ganun talaga tayo na medyo not the young breed. Pero even when you attend the meetups ng DEP, ng TCS, lalo na ng Tech Career Shifter, ang babata ng mga nag-a-attend.
I guess, yeah.
Mga
Mm.
mga kakagraduate lang,
Gen Z.
interested. Yeah, Gen Z, actually a lot of Gen Z. Tapos, ah pero nakakatuwa na they're that young and they already have like this path in front of them na interested kasi ako sa data. So, naghahanap ako ng mga same-minded sana. I want to learn. Kumaga, nakakatuwa na dati kasi parang, ewan ko or maybe yun, hindi ko alam kung hindi lang ganun yung group of friends ko ba. Pero kumbaga, ah, yung mga bata these days, and maybe baka K to 12 ano rin to,
Effects.
after effect, oo,
Mm.
kasi they're a bit older, they have a bit more wisdom on them, they've tried a lot more things these days, and kumbaga nakakatuwa na they know what, or at least they kind of know what they want now, and that they know that they're interested in this field, they're looking for people, pero of course, along with that, they kind of want to know uh, how much do people get paid? How do I actually? Yun yung isa sa mga problema with tech, with data, not even tech professional roles, but with data roles even. Ang lawak sobra. And ang
Yeah,
dami.
there's a lot of overlap. And pretty
Yeah.
much, it's the same job, iba-iba lang yung pangalan.
Yeah, isa pa yun. And minsan, no, same job title, ang difference sa sweldo, times 20 yung isa. Yung pala, iba na yung pinapagawa doon.
Mm.
Or minsan parehas yung pinapagawa, times 10 pa rin yung difference ng sweldo, hindi mo na alam. So, may mga, ang daming ganun, ang daming gray area around. And, kumbaga, naiintindihan ko naman sila na if you're someone new, fresh off college, nakaka-overwhelm yung papasukin mong career na, ano ba tong pinapasok ko? Saan nga ba ako tututok? Do I go Tableau? Do I go Power BI? Do I go Excel? Ultimo tool choice. Nalilito na sila paano pa sa actual responsibility choice. So, kumbaga yun.
So do you guys talk about those things in Power BI Pilipinas? And actually just reminds me I probably need to join, no, just to have a look. Kasi again, speaking broadly, in the early days of AAP, no, we used to talk about parang yan job definitions a lot.
Mm,
Medyo patok 'yun. Nowadays, iba na yung mukhang iba na yung mga focus ng mga associations, no. It's more government driven, but pero I think the tech communities ought to be on top of that. So ano ba yan? Is that a common discussion? Like, okay, what kind of jobs are there? And is Power BI the main requirement? Kasi ang hirap din eh. They don't necessarily teach all of that in college eh.
exactly. Totoo. Isa pa yan. Ah, I'm trying to remember Parang iba yung phrasing lang eh. So parang ang more of the phrasing is yung mga ganong tanong about the tool like Power BI ba ako or magta-Tableau ako or magpa-Python ba ako, mag-R ba ako. I tend to notice na yun yung mga tanong ng mga tech career shifters. So
Mm,
they're tired of their current role, they want to shift to data kasi malaki daw swelduhan sa data, marami daw opportunity sa data. Pero anong tool po yung kailangan kong aralin? So doon ko napapansin.
mm,
Since yun nga, medyo niche ako, specific to Power BI, sala na yung pumapasok sa group eh. So they are the ones who have chosen Power BI because maybe it's a Microsoft product, interested sila or nasa Microsoft ecosystem sila ngayon. So Power BI is one of the tools that they have access to. So they decide to, try this out. Ano ba yung mga pwede kong gawin? Or minsan may mga sumasali rin na nasa loob na sila ng trabaho at pinapagawa na sa kanila yung report na, guys, patulong naman, willing to pay. Please tutor me in Power
Yeah, that's
BI.
so true. That's so true. A lot of
Oh,
it is really report preparation, which,
oh.
sad to say, I don't know if this is still the case. There's this weird parang forced hierarchy. I don't know if you know this sa mga analytics disciplines. Kasalanan ni Gartner to eh. Meron silang chart kasi
Ah,
na descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive. So,
types of
obviously,
analytics.
oh, 'di ba types of
Ah,
analytics. Eh syempre ang Power BI is more on the descriptive. Tapos
right.
yung mga data scientists andyan sa predictive and then AI is on the prescriptive. Pero that should be more of a flat for me a flat chart. All of it is on top of data, so data engineering, data management.
Oh,
Pero these are equally for me equally valuable disciplines, no? So anyway, what was my question? My question was, so inadvertently it comes back to you're gonna learn Power BI, pero meron bang parang at least from your perspective, parang short list of you need Power BI plus plus para lang your job ready. Is that a thing sa mga
al-
communities?
alam mo, yung mga members, when I read their replies, yun nga, sinasabi na nila na Power BI plus, well, hindi, at the very least, and I agree to this, Power BI plus analytics background.
Hmm.
Kasi may mga nakikita ako na they are jumping into Power BI, fine, you know the tool, pero when someone asks you to uh, create a stack column chart because so and so, if hindi mo nagigets yung logic why we need to create that, then at some point you will be extremely confused as to what you're
Mabobokya ka
trying.
dun Yeah, correct.
Oo. So, kumbaga, yung analytics background siguro. Pero recently kasi I see people saying na you need Power BI plus some sort of data engineering background. Maybe it's with Python, maybe it's with other whatever ETL, whatever extraction, transformation,
SQL,
load
obviously.
tool,
Yeah. Mm.
SQL. Kumbaga, may mga nire-recommend na sila na parang know this too on the side para handa ka kasi tatanungin ka ng ganito eh. Pero in my role kasi, and maybe this is me being lucky, I'm part of a big organization where there's a separate person that does data engineering. There's a
Mm.
separate person that does data science. There's a separate person. I'm part of a big client right now. Na there's even a separate team doing data governance na first time ko narinig. So, meron ng talagang team na nag-make sure na pare-parehas yung definition ng measures, pare-parehas yung yung measures, yung calculation mismo ng measures, pare-parehas din. So, I didn't even know na may ganong team na. So, doon ko lang na-experience. So, medyo heavily, kumaga, when it turns into conversations about, apart from Power BI, guys, what else should I learn?
Mm.
Or
Mm.
what other tool should I learn? Medyo hindi ako masyado makasagot kasi hindi ko na-experience eh. In my career path, medyo maybe I was lucky, pero yun, medyo smooth yung pagtambol ko into my current position.
No, no, that's fantastic. Kasi actually, and thanks pala for cascading the labor report, no? It's pretty dense with lots of stuff. Naalala ko lang bigla. When we did that section on job clusters, no? Kasi the prevailing narrative obviously is there are jobs like data analyst, data engineer, data scientist, and
Mm.
yung mga ganyan, no? Pero yun yung theory. What we sought to do, and I think we almost got to it, pero kinulang lang sa oras. Would be nice to do a follow-up actually. I don't know if you saw that section on job clusters. So, and just briefly, yung clusters na lumabas are not necessarily yung theory na pinopropagate, for example, ng AAP and all these other schools and groups, no? Obviously, early days yon. Now we're seeing where it's, falling
When you
through.
say clusters, ito ba yung mga agri, retail? What are
No,
the...
not even. It's actually the role itself. So, for example, lumabas yung analytics trainer as a
Okay.
cluster.
Alala ko yan.
So, na no one really cares about at the moment. Parang everyone's busy learning, but no one's
Oo.
busy learning how to teach, which is actually a compounding problem. Okay, sige, one aside. Another one na lumabas na distinct is the manager. So, meron
Mm.
talagang role na analytics manager who's sort of a maybe formerly on the ground an analyst or an engineer pero
Frontline
naging
before, yeah.
tapos naging mas na senior na, and distinct sila from just managers. In other words, parang these are like expert leaders, no? In other words,
Uh,
you can't manage,
at-
technical people if you're not
right. Exactly.
partly technical yourself, no? 'Di ba?
Technical
And then
leadership.
yung isang parang blob na parang naghalo-halo. Ito nakakatuwa. We couldn't necessarily strip out the engineer, the scientist, the analyst. Actually, they're all one job lumalabas. If
Ah,
and this is we in A/B test kasi namin eh. One clustering was done based on job description in the market.
mhm.
And then itong mga job clusters na to were based on what people said they were doing, no? Sabi parang
Mhm.
ang prompt lang namin doon, hindi pa uso yung prompting, pero sabi namin, just explain what you do in so many
Ah,
words. And then NLP,
right.
boom. Yung lumabas na magkakadikit, data analyst for business, may data analyst for engineering, and data analyst for science, no?
Ah,
And it really correlates a lot with what you're saying kasi may mga, let's say, magpa-Power BI, pero baka ang role naman talaga nila is to develop Power BI dashboards.
yeah,
Full
which
stop.
is which
It's
is
more of the
sakto.
medyo mas engineering related. Parang you're a PBI developer. Actually, may ganun eh. May ganung job. And
Right,
then you
right.
have the analytical, more of the analytical type where, yan, explain why it's a stack bar chart, explain why it's a flow chart, parang ganyan. The dreaded pie chart, whatever. Uh, because you want to tell a story, or more
Yes,
importantly, you want to parang influence
for presenting na to.
presenting the outcome. And then
Yes.
yung dun sa scientist, and I guess this is where it gets contentious. Kasi when you say data scientist, automatic yan. Baka Python yan or R or some
Mm.
machine learning tool.
Heavy code, yeah.
Heavy coding. Pero actually, Power BI and visualization play a tremendous role in exploratory data analysis. Na bago ka mag-model, pakita mo muna
Correct.
na naintindihan mo yung data mo.
Starts
So
there,
it
yeah.
seems to correlate very well, no, in that sense. So I think part of what's probably confusing people is they get into, let's say, Power BI with a particular bias na, and usually it's the engineering bias. Parang I'm gonna learn web dev or I'm gonna learn Power BI. Parang ganon.
Ah,
It's a give me a tool to rule them all and then I'll apply for
ah,
these developer jobs. Pero actually, which actually exists, to be fair, no? Pero minsan madadaplisan ka ng parang more analytical role, in which case you need to be somewhat parang more of a researcher, parang ang dating mo, where you're looking at data and trying to surface patterns. Which obviously, just learning the tool won't teach you per se. Nandun yung functions, yung mga charts, nandyan.
and
Pero no one's teaching you exactly how to think like that, no? Does that make sense?
exactly.
Or do you see
The
that?
logic of it. Kumbaga,
Mhm.
inisip ko nga, yun yung parang programmer's logic na tinuturo sa'yo ng mga grade 5 ka, na flow chart lang, if hungry, eat, if
Yeah.
thirsty, drink, mga ganun lang na, kumbaga, you grow into it, yung mga if, magsisimula ka sa mga simpleng if-else statements, magne-nested,
Yep.
magiging logic na
Mga
siya,
loops.
magiging
Yeah.
map na, oo, may mga loops ka na. So, feeling ko nandoon, and same as sa data side naman, you start with your line charts, you understand why line charts are easier to look at than tables. You then look at column charts. Why are they easier and easier to understand as well than numbers on a notepad? So kumbaga lahat yun, yeah, interconnected naman in uh, it it uh, it brings you to not just knowing the tool, but knowing what else might surround the tool as far as mga career is concerned. And one thing na gusto ko ring i-mention is nabanggit mo kasi yung yung presenting part of it and kind of influencing leaders because of this is what the data says, or at least that's how I interpret it, yung soft skills ng mga tao.
Yep.
'Di ba? Kumbaga, yeah, it's public speaking in a way. It's proper decorum, mga ganon. So, and hindi yun na-highlight masyado, pero that can be something that sets you apart from applicant B, eh.
Do you
From
guys
app.
teach, we keep using storytelling, pero do you guys teach like how to present better? Is that something that's quite popular in the community? Kasi
Actually,
I
hindi.
myself, I
Oo.
had to learn that the hard way. Ang usual bias at the start, at least it was for me, is to cram as much information. Parang your slide is a dashboard. Lumalabas.
Oo.
Iba naman yung function ng dashboarding, iba naman yung function of presenting. Sa presenting, it's all about the highlighting eh. Parang okay, you've got all of this noise, pero ito yon. This is the anomaly.
Mm.
And then you tell a story. And to be fair to the storyteller genre, hindi rin siya intuitive ah. It takes some time to
Oo,
get used
true.
to it eh, 'di ba? So is
True,
that
true.
something that's popular in the Power BI community?
No, actually. Kaya maganda nga, napaisip nga ako na, oh nga, no, that can be a gap in the skill set of
Mm.
people.
Mm.
Although, ang alam ko, kumbaga, that can fall under data analytics Philippines kasi I believe they run parang trainings right now. It's another group. It's
Mm.
another Philippine group
Daming
na,
Pilipinas ano,
oh,
mabuhay ang Pilipinas.
correct.
But
So,
actually, I don't, of course, I need to dig in but I am a subscriber to yung feed nila. I'm a member. I don't see that either eh. It's really more about parang the top 10
ooh.
skills that you need to be a
Ah,
data analyst. And it's actually, to be honest, it's an impossible list of top 10 skills if you're coming out of college, even with
ay,
a com sci degree. Medyo mahirap siya, hindi siya yung madaling lamunin. Kaya nga maraming mga remorse ako nababasa ngayon na they tried to be a data analyst, they tried to be a data engineer or a data
oh,
scientist rather.
oh,
And then they just decided, it's too much trouble. I'm just gonna go to web development. Kasi yun, very clear yung stack mo. You have
ah,
data layer, front end, middleware, PDE mo na lang kung anong gusto mo, LAMP, MERN, mga ganyan.
correct.
And then the output is fairly straightforward. It's a website or a web app, and
Mas
it
specific nga yung
specific. Although it's
structure.
intricate. I mean,
Yeah.
I had my moment then in web development. Pero in many ways, I would argue dashboard development is kind of like that. Then it's kind of like an application development discipline, or is it? Anong tingin mo dun?
Since I am currently more involved with creating interactive experiences, then
Mhm.
yes, medyo up ako. At sinabi ko rin nga to sa one of my talks na when I start creating dashboards these days, ang laging number one inspiration ko is yung website ng company na yon. Kung sino man yung
Ah,
clients. Let's say
yeah.
Toyota yung nagpagawa
Parang
sa
yung
akin.
look and feel, no? You can
The
mimic
look
it,
and
no?
feel,
Oh.
even correct, and especially the feel. Kumbaga, if they have navigation buttons na nag-slide down,
The
I actually
design
try to copy
philosophy.
that.
Yeah,
Oo,
that's true.
exactly. Yung design language nila, yung brand colors nila.
Yeah.
So, it gives them, kumbaga, is it, kumbaga, it kills your creativity? Maybe a bit, yeah, pero it allows you to immediately connect with your client. Since that's something that they're very familiar with, it's something that supposedly they're proud of. Umaga, company colors, brand look and feel, and so kumbaga yung part na yon, kaya medyo app style na talaga
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah. And for
uh,
me, I learned a lot when I crossed over into web dev. Kasi even the way I used to design dashboards sa Excel changed
mm,
dramatically nung web dev
yeah,
ako. Kasi parang yung just the issue of separating functionality, no? Ito puro interaction. Then you'll have another sheet with
correct.
all of the logic. Tago
UI
yan.
UX, mga
UI
ganyan.
UX. And then sa dulo yung the actual data dump, whether it's a connection to some database or
Mm,
nakalatag siya doon. Pero you're really serving, or that's what I used to do. We really served Excel sheets as an app, no? And it can be done that way. No. So in many ways, the Power BI philosophy is an evolution of that. Baka nakita rin ni Microsoft na, okay, here's a common, I think one of the biggest aha moments in Excel, among many things, is the pivot table. Once people figure
ah,
that out, suddenly data
sobra.
comes to life, diba? And that's
Oo.
basically the ground truth of many dashboards is a pivot table somehow, no?
True.
Oo.
Formatted lang na pivot. Ang saya-saya na.
Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh.
And actually, dun nga ako, kaya nga I'm insisting, the Power BI kind of column, basically vertical, is
Mm.
a career of its own. It does not, kasi mo
Yeah.
analytics is a broad term. I feel nga
Yeah.
it's almost too broad to be completely useless. When you say analytics, what the hell do you really mean? You gotta go one or two levels down. Are you a predictive modeler? Ibang mundo yan. Or are you
Yeah.
'di ba? Or are you more of data engineering? Oh, ibang mundo yan. And then ito na, no? The Power BI I feel is number one, apart from being the gateway, it's actually the stuff that businesses probably can relate to the most. Kasi kita nila agad eh. Ano ba tong chart na
Oh,
to? What does this mean?
visual. And yun
Hmm.
nga, it applies not just to your frontline people, it can apply to management, middle, senior, and up to the C-level. Naka-Power BI pa rin.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kumbaga, hindi siya yung tipong predictive analytics nga na medyo mas specialized ka na to senior people, those who are making
Actually,
decisions.
hindi nga eh. It's not even seniority eh. And of course, we can talk about that later. No? Pero, let's say when you do modeling,
Hmm.
and yun pala, we have to be specific, statistical modeling, predictive modeling. Um, in business, that's very, very small in terms of total
Yeah,
attention, no? Once nagawa na yung, kunyari in a
correct.
banking context, gawa ka ng
Model ka na.
gawa ka ng scorecard to predict default, no? Which is,
Hmm.
for me, one of the most educational models I've ever learned. Once nagawa na yung scoring, it's just literally one input na, okay, here's the
No.
application and then labas yung numero, pass or fail. Samantalang in a dashboard, you can spend 90% of your business time fiddling around with it, figuring out. Wait.
Oo.
What about simulations? Does that count in the Power BI world? Kasi minsan
Recently,
mga what
pinapasok
if,
yun.
mga if then
Yes.
analysis, parang ganun.
Mga what if parameters. Meron na rin kasi sa Power BI. Extremely limited though. So,
Hmm.
kumbaga ramdam ko na Power BI is like nudging in that direction na what
Yeah.
if. Pero I think medyo baka komplikado yung most likely complicated yung coding in the background to get to
Yeah.
that. Pero as of now, available ang what if nila in the form of a simple number na you can
Parang goal
enter
seek.
0 to
You're gonna seek
1,000. Oh,
the answer.
ganun lang.
Yeah, kasi that's also kind of a discipline of its own, no? So it medyo
Yeah.
nasa prescriptive analysis na yung dating doon. Na parang okay, we've got an internal logic now of how things work. Let's
Oh,
start testing inputs, no? Paano kung inakit natin yung marketing natin? Ano yung mangyayari? Parang ganun. And then you have this, then you can visualize the output na, okay, here's the grand, parang kunyari scatter plot of
oh,
possible outcomes. And ito yung ideal where
correct.
we make money and everyone's happy. And then here's the bad, parang the bad quadrant where everything's bad. And then yung middle ground yung medyo interesting na, okay, ano yung trade-off? You can be happy, but you're poor. or you can be rich but you're miserable. Parang
Yeah.
parang ganun yung ano eh. And that's a totally different level of analysis in my view. It's not even predictive nga. It's more of parang sa Waze. You wanna get
Parang
from Ortigas to Makati?
routes, no?
Here are all the
Iba-ibang
routes. Bahala kang
yeah.
pumili
Yeah.
what you want, no? Shortest distance, least cops, or shortest time. Kasi minsan hindi magkakapareho yun eh.
Always, not always or yes.
Tollways, no tollways.
Yeah. Oh, correct. And yeah, it depends on your creativity, pero yeah, you can build that in Power BI. Kasi ano naman I believe na any tool na meron kang filters or slicers, you can build somewhat of it. Depende na lang sa mga ibang factors mo siguro. Pero in general, kumbaga if you have a simple model that you're trying to build, since may filters naman si Power BI rin, and you can enter numbers based on a certain finite input.
Yeah.
Kakayanin, yeah.
I just realized, hindi naman, pero parang it came back to me just now. Back in the day, one of my bigger inspirations for, kung ikaw website ng client, no? And I think that's a great idea. Another great source of inspiration for me were games. No, there are many
Mm.
games that are inherently data visualization apps. Parang
Ah,
I don't know if you remember SimCity, the classic SimCity.
oo.
Of course, you have the map visualization. By the way, Power BI has maps also. That's
Correct,
a very, very
correct.
awesome thing.
True.
Many games are just that, a map with
Oo nga, no?
charts, no? So I
Oo.
used to use SimCity as my parang may philosophy na if I'm
Oo.
managing my business, what's the SimCity how does SimCity look like, no?
Oo.
And not necessarily kailangan physical location. Pwedeng mapa siya of business units and then you can drill down, ano nangyayari dito sa factory na to or ano
May stats
nangyayari
pa rin doon. Correct.
stats pa rin, and then may alerts. So in
Yeah.
many ways, one perspective is you treat a dashboard like an application, like a web app, or you can treat visualization itself like a game. No, you're
Interesting, ah.
gamifying the business. No, has that ever been a discussion? Because I think that would be a great parang parang innovation.
Oo
In a
nga,
way,
no?
we're teaching people to be game developers, pero business
Oo,
games.
correct. Hindi pa, pero kumbaga ang medyo trend ngayon is, in terms of, again, interactive reports, ang medyo, another angle that I see people use is web tuloy, mobile apps in general.
Yeah.
Kasi ang dami-dami ng mobile apps ngayon, and well, yun, whether it's Spotify or YouTube, yung mismong interaction nila, how they craft the
Yeah, the
buttons, how the buttons
interface is data
hover.
visualization, basically.
Correct. So, kasi ano naman pretty much any software right now, they're trying to do away with help texts. They're trying to
Mm,
make it as intuitive as possible. So
correct.
that said, yung simpleng 3 lines na alam mo yung hamburger icon,
The hamburger.
alam na
Is
ng
it
people
three or
na,
four? Minsan, I see four
oh,
or three, but
people can get
whatever.
creative Pero kumbaga, sabihin natin standard 3. So kumbaga,
Oo.
alam na ng tao na pag nakita yan, menu yan. So, pag may nakita silang bilog sa gitna, mukhang home button yan. So, people are trying to, kumbaga, uh, stick to those. And
Mm-mm.
doon, medyo nakakatuwa na, yun nga, slowly, wala na tayong mga hino-hover pa para malaman mo how to navigate. It's starting
There
to be
used to be
second nature.
is there something similar for your Microsoft? There used to be a document, I forgot the name, pero it's like a design philosophy ni Google. They released that for free, so that anyone designing apps, let's say for Android or desktop apps, merong Google recommended
Mm,
parang workflow or philosophy. Para intuitive siya. I think si
oo,
Apple released something similar din na parang if you're gonna design an app, here are typical design patterns
oo,
para intuitive siya, no? I don't know if
correct.
there's something already in place or something na o kahit hindi man fan, as in community created design principles for dashboards and visualization.
Yun lang, hindi ko pa napapansin. Ang meron ako nakikita is yung parang recommended for displaying financial data.
Okay.
There are organizations
So domain
Uh,
specific parang
yes.
patterns, no? Okay.
How do you display, kumbaga, production data, manufacturing data, parang ganun, exactly. It's industry specific.
That feels like a low-hanging fruit kasi we can ask people to start swapping ideas. Ito rin pala, no? And I don't know, I hope no one gets offended by this, no? But I also noticed kind of a subsector of, I would call them the eye candy dashboards na pag nga, kunyari, dashboard contests,
Ah,
talagang it's a work of art yung ilalabas nila.
oo.
Yung iba, ano pa, luminescent, fluorescent, mga,
Infographic nga talaga.
oo.
Pang
Pe-
magazine,
pero
kumbaga.
it's probably not something you would use in business.
Yeah,
The business dashboards are
exactly.
going to be very dry and boring, but functional, no? Pero
True.
am I going to make an argument for it? Parang, can we argue that that's also a legitimate parang practice, coming up with
Heck
fantastic
yeah. For me,
infographics?
hindi, especially since I'm more of the creative side.
Yeah.
Ano ko nga nung college days ko, ang first choice ko architecture Napunta lang ako sa ECE.
Wait,
Kasi
perfect.
sabi nila mas okay daw ang pera sa engineering. So,
So, no,
kumbaga,
true or
my
false?
creative, ano yan yan yung mga I chose Y instead of X. So, who
Tama.
knows? Pero so kumbaga, I heavily appreciate yung mga mala infographic nga ng mga tipong parang dapat pang piniprint na to sa Manila Bulletin
Yeah,
ng mga
it
pang
it no
front
it
pager.
it's the stuff you would see on mga coffee table books.
Yeah,
Parang,
exactly.
wow, look at this. Fantastic.
Oh,
The fonts.
oo. So kumbaga, it draws your attention.
Hmm.
Maybe it doesn't give you as deep of insights as you would prefer, or it doesn't have the interactivity that you would need in a business environment. Pero kumbaga, it grabs your attention. It grabs the public's attention so easily na
Mm-mm.
mapapatingin ka, mapapabasa ka, and kahit medyo simple yung information. And uh, yun yung isa sa nakikita kong hindi naman siya problem. Pero hindi, sige, it's a trend with data challenges. Kasi you kinda need to pull the attention of the judges
Yeah, you
So,
need gusto mo pasikat, so you have to come up with
oh,
something cool, no?
exactly. So,
Actually, the
kumbaga,
solution there is if you do these data challenges, you have categories. 'Di ba? Parang, 'di ba?
ngayon nakikita ko nga slowly, mga out of the box award.
Oo, or parang sa NASA dati, best use of data, most practical solution. Parang
Oo,
para everyone gets and of course it's not because you want to award everyone, pero you decide which vertical you're gonna
correct.
aim for
Or at
given a
least
common pool.
you respect, kumbaga, the different sides of data viz. And they're all data viz naman. They have their
Mm.
applications. So, yeah. That's a beautiful idea kasi nagbabalak rin ako ng Data Challenge Pinas
Yan, okay yan. Tama
So
yan.
yeah. So pwede 'yon. Pero 'yon, in partnership 'yon with Data Analytics Philippines kasi hindi ko
Pilipinas.
kakayanin. Di ba? Kaya
Sige,
nalo.
maganda yan. I'll help promote it, certainly, no? Okay. We still have some time now. I wanted to maybe geek out a little bit. And you given your uh pivotal role, no? For a lack of a better term, in driving the thought leadership for Power BI. Can you run through like a typical workflow? Like, okay, if you're given a project, assuming you have a data set, what are like the top three or top five things you would run through in your head or as you're developing? Let's say in creating a dashboard, ano ba yung mga, I don't know if it will be helpful then to share to aspiring Power BI developers or analysts.
Yeah, that's a nice question actually kasi yun nga, kumbaga, we sometimes get too wrapped up with the tool na hindi
Mhm.
na natin naisip ano nga ba yung, again, let's go back to the practicality of it. Para saan ba to? Especially if we're talking about business, we're talking about jobs. So, you have in a job, you're a Power BI developer, client asks you, create me a report for this X metric, ganyan. So, ang workflow ko usually is to ask them, is there a business question that we want answered by
Mhm.
this report? Kasi doon mo malalaman ano yung mga measures mo na kailangang naka-highlight, dapat ba nasa card sila? Doon mo malalaman, are there metrics that need to be compared to each other and you need
Right.
to show that in a visual. So it's really about how are they going to use it? What is it for? Kumbaga, always start from there. You always start with sa kanila, and minsan it also helps if they already have an existing report na nasa Excel kasi meron na silang usage pattern doon eh. Meron na silang workflow themselves na in Excel kasi we use this pivot table, blah 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 blah, and doon mo makikita na ano ba yung mga important na metrics. One of the challenges when working sa corporate is there tends to be a lot of things that get measured pero not a lot of things that are really important. So, trabaho ng report mo dapat yon to highlight the things that are important. And to give them the info they need when they need it, supposedly. So, papasok ka sa mga discussions rin about the technicality of the report. Kumbaga wala pa nga tayo sa mismong wireframing, pero you need to take care of saan manggagaling yung data, sino yung kakausapin ko about that, nagre-refresh ba yung data, how do we structure it so that we can produce yung mga visuals na gusto nyo. And there will be clients that are just, I trust you, bahala ka na, gawan mo ako ng report. And there will be clients that are extremely specific with their request. That I want a map visual for this one. I want a bubble chart that shows X versus Y and allows me to drill through into ganito and with certain slicers na ganito. So, all of those, kumbaga, you take into account, yun yung medyo, is it challenging? Very slightly lang siguro. As long as you document everything, I think most people will be fine. And doon ka lang magi-start na okay, it's time to wireframe. It's time to, and people use different wireframing tools. I personally use a website called Penpot that para siyang
Penpat.
Figma. Penpot. Para siyang
Penpot.
Figma.
Okay.
If you're familiar with Figma. Pero kumbaga, para siyang PowerPoint pero specifically about UI UX.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
ano
Is that
siya?
something that mga web developers also use?
I think so. Yeah,
I'm
pwede
gonna
rin.
put that in the description, no? Penpot. Okay.
Yeah. So so that's personally what I use kasi it's free. Figma kasi may bayad eh. Or at least kumaga yun. So Penpot slightly more features for the same cost of free.
Okay. And
And
it parang simulates like a dashboard experience. You can link functionality together,
you
parang
can
Figma.
link one page to another kasi may button dito, it jumps to there. Pero extremely simpler. So
Okay.
walang data, pero at
Mm.
least they can have a
Get a feel
pretty
for
good
it.
imaginative feel na
Oh.
you'll have a bar chart here, you'll have a line chart here.
Ngayon naramdaman ko na edad ko. I used to do that with PowerPoint.
Ayan, oh.
As in, grabe. Kasi you can mock up data kasi sa PowerPoint, di ba? Yung
Exactly.
mga ganyan.
And same rin, di ba? Sa PowerPoint, you can like have animations na pupunta sa slide na to. So medyo same, actually same concept naman.
Yeah.
Except web to and easily shareable.
Yeah,
Yung
that's right.
si
Rather
Figma
than
and si Pen
share.
Pal.
Kasi those PowerPoints can get pretty big, no? If you have so much
Right.
animation, mga 200 MB na PowerPoint, mas malaki pa dun sa Excel na
Grabe.
ginagamit mo. Oh
So,
my gosh, yeah.
and then from there, from the wireframe, it's a lot of meetings again, lots of conversations. Pero from there, medyo, ano na yan eh, medyo parang standard corporate work na wherein you meet, especially sikat naman ngayon yung mga agile project management. So it's a lot of communication back and forth. Is this what you need? Is this what you want? Yes, no. Do we fix something with the data? Do we, tapos slowly, once you get your actual data, you then build the report na, in this case, of course, in Power BI, because I'm Power BI Pilipinas. So, from there, papasok ka na sa, yung, again, kind of regular, I guess, pero sabihin natin, extremely new. Medyo na-appreciate ko recently yung mga software developer pipelines wherein meron kang dev phase, may test phase before you
Mm.
go to the prod
The life
phase.
cycle, no? Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Is this what's called data ops? O hindi na, hindi, you're not adopting that
Meron
term.
pa rin, may data. Ang tawag, kasi within Power BI, they call it the deployment pipeline.
Mm.
Pero yeah, sa Azure, they call it DevOps. And yeah,
DevOps.
same pa rin naman yung ano.
Oo.
So, pretty much, going from, and then yun nga, sorry, tumalon ako sa, yung design phase, of course, yun nga, I'm a simple man that just goes to the website and takes
Yeah.
inspiration from there. Or sometimes, apart from the website, minsan hinihingan ko sila ng, pati nga ng corporate PowerPoint slide niyo. Kasi sometimes masyadong mas magandang gamiting basis yung PowerPoint nila, and minsan mas malinis yung mga effects doon. And yun nga, kumbaga, I am a believer of one of Edward Tufts' teaching in data visualization. And you want less ink on your
Mm.
report.
Mm.
You want less distractions. So as clean as you can go, especially since yun nga, working with operations, working with different businesses, they tend to have a lot of fluff already without you adding even more, without you adding so many designs.
they they
Marami na
add a
sila.
lot of fluff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so okay na sila, marami na. Ang trabaho mo is palitawin. So from there, yeah, deployment pipeline and yung mga UAT phases, mga user acceptance testing, and pretty much hanggang sa dulo, yeah, depende na sa client yun. If ako yung magme-maintain rin or meron ng ibang team na sasalo ng maintenance. Pero yun.
Do you find and this is a very minutia question. Because one thing that I believe most data careers struggle with is this interesting never-ending divide, no, between the business user and the tech people, whether it's IT. And minsan, karamihan ng mga data teams are in the middle. Either they're situated with the business department, it so
Ah,
happens they're the most techy people there, or they're within the IT department and they're servicing the business people. Now, one dream I think everyone always had is yung term na self-service. Kaya nga may dashboard eh. Parang you
mm,
create an app that allows the business to do their own slicing and dicing and then producing their own reports. Pero, well, anyway, last I checked, there's still this reluctance of business people. I'll just call them business people to adopt the tool. Parang it's so much easier for them to just request it from the tech guy or the Power BI guy. May ganun pa rin bang dynamic right now? Or do you see more and more via Power BI business adoption na talagang yung business people na ang gagamit? And the role na lang of the Power BI developer is to facilitate. Okay, let's design the interface, create the functionality, and then yan na, data product na siya. Use it, no? And
correct.
create your own reports, no? Nangyayari ba yun?
Medyo depende sa client. I have seen clients, and yun nga, good thing you mentioned it. It is attributable slightly to Power BI being slightly simpler.
Mhm.
Pero ano kasi, parang I usually put myself in a beginner shoe when it comes to Power BI, and I can see how it can be confusing. I can see how some parts of it may not be the most intuitive things to reach out for kahit galing ka from Excel. So that said, may barrier pa rin. There will be, and I think baka nga mga unique yon, mga more technical directors, technical executive directors na
We'll do it.
tumitira ng dashboards by
Mm,
themselves. O
mm.
kumbaga may mga directors ako na magre-request sila ng dashboard, magre-request sila ng report. Pero by the way, may ginawa na akong initial. Improve on that. Parang ganon. So meron ng magulat ka, may data na sila, transform na sila, may mga visuals na doon. Tapos, kumbaga, you're just there to dress it up and make sure that whatever they did is the most efficient that there is, or the most optimized way for them to get to this output. So, merong mga ganun, pero I feel that it's still heavily dependent, well, number one, on that business person skill, and number two, their time. Kasi I do know that there's a lot of people, or there's a lot of business folks that they just don't have the time to make this or learn about this, and they know that there's some people who can do it in half the time that I
Oo,
need to
oo,
do.
tama.
So,
Mm.
ganun yung nangyayari. So they'll just delegate it to you fully.
You know, that's a very real thing. Kasi, just to share with you, sabi ko nga kanina, I spent a chunk of my career in banking. In the latter part of that career, medyo last few years, I was a business lead, no, in a bank. So marami kami mga business leads, no. I was head of consumer lending, may sa deposits, yun yung lines of business. But I was in that team the only one who came from a data background, came from the
Mm.
analytics team. And actually, yung boss namin was from the analytics team then once upon a time. And when
Ah,
he was asking me to cross over, sabi niya, so Doc, what do you think? Kasi marami kaming in the running eh. Mga kalabang ko lahat, mga marketing people na who want to be that lead. Obviously, you know, kasi
yeah.
marketing is the ano. Ako, I came from everything else except marketing. I had a finance background, I had operations, definitely
Ah,
across the board, pero puro data this, data that. So sabi ko dun sa boss ko, ganito na lang. What do you feel is easier? You can teach these marketing people finance, operations, data analysis, visualization, or you can just teach me marketing. Parang ganun. Kasi I've got all
willing
of
to
that
sell.
already. Turo mo na lang ako ng marketing. And I think that was it. That's what
Yeah.
closed the deal. Tapos, okay, day to day na. So, andito na kami lahat. Ako lang yung boss, no? I was a VP in that job who actually had my own mini parang data capability. Kasi nga, I came from that background.
Oh.
So I think I had three people in my team. Yung isa trinain ko. Oh, ganito yan. Here's where. In fact, I even and this shouldn't have happened, pero I still retained yung access ko to the bank's databases long after I left that job, no. Hindi naman
Okay.
nare-retire yan eh. So we had privileged access, no. So as you get this data, ito yung mga tables, this is
Mhm.
how you would join it. So usually pag may preparation for, you know, Mancom executive committee, kami yung pinaka-astig in
Ah,
terms
yeah,
of
yeah.
presentation kasi everyone else had to run through to the data team where I
May
used to be.
delay.
Oh, ako
Yeah.
I got it na, no.
May red tape.
So vanity lang ba yan? Maybe sa simula. Pero actually, and syempre hindi naman buhat bangko masyado. We actually had the best business results. Kasi but it's a very powerful advantage if you have your own
Hmm.
data and you have your own analysis.
Information is
Mare-relate
power.
mo talaga na o pag minove natin tong lever na to, ito yung mangyayari. So we had the
Exactly.
highest revenue growth, we had the most efficient cost income ratio, na hindi
Ang
mahuli-huli ng mga
galing.
iba,
Yeah.
no? And well, eventually, and this is another lesson we can discuss another time, it became political. Kasi
Oh,
parang,
for sure.
oo,
Lalo na sa financial industry daw. Medyo uso
dugas
daw
naman
yun.
ni na Doc, ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. Sabi ko, mali ko, kayo, ganyan.
Shouldn't be that, akala ko pa naman yun yung magiging trigger na let's have analytics teams for each of the branches.
That's what I was suggesting.
Yeah.
Okay, now you see the power, spread it.
Oh,
Yeah. Pero unfortunately, or fortunately, in that organization, it became more of a silo na okay, kanya-kanya na. And ultimately, it becomes, apart from politics, it comes back to performance management. So, and I
yeah.
kid you not, this happens in corporate a lot. And rather than adopt a more meritocratic system, kasi may data, what people end up doing is short-circuiting yung performance review nila by changing their goals. Kasi nga hindi nila ma-achieve yung gamified strategy.
Oo.
So parang change the game. Parang ganun nangyari.
Right.
Lobby to the boss. And unfortunately, at that time, in that very brief moment in my career, which didn't last very long, because I ended up leaving anyway, yun ang nangyari. And the long-term effects were drastic, you know. That institution ended up shutting down branches, contracting
Mm.
their operation. Literally sumabog after I left. Kasi nga, it happens a lot eh. Parang politics gets in the way. Now, I don't know if you have something to say about that. Kasi I always maintain a data
Politics and
career.
ego.
Parang data and politics talagang ano eh. They can't avoid each other kasi information is power. Pero they can't
Correct.
mix din. Kasi talagang antiseptic ang data sa politika. No? I don't know. You have a view on that? Just an
I
opinion on
think
it?
medyo mas ano yan sa financial eh, hindi kaya? Kasi
Perhaps.
I came from a call center background. Yun yung first
Mm.
job ko. So,
Mm-mm.
and so far, in my 20 years of employment, puro call centers to.
Okay.
That said, yung, kumbaga, logic, even sa mga upper management, senior C-level ng so far, mga BPOs na napagtrabahuan ko is really leaning towards data.
Mm.
So it's a question
No,
of it's
actually, BPOs are very data driven. You
yeah.
know,
So,
I mean, after
thinking
my banking stint, I moved to yet another bank, pero as a BPO na, bank BPO. Gulat na
yeah,
gulat ako. Iba yung patakbo. Very, very metrics driven.
ang daming measures, di ba?
Mm. Mm.
So, feeling ko sa BPO it's less about politicizing the numbers kasi medyo it's easier to get called out for BS sa
Mm.
BPO
Yeah.
when with this data. Pero I do feel na sa BPO naman ang laro doon with data is uh, fashioning your story how you want it to be told.
Correct.
So marami ka kasing sa BPO kasi ang problema, sobrang dami namang measures. So kumbaga there's sometimes if you're skilled enough, you don't need to manipulate your data, pero you can shape it in a way, present it in a way that makes you kind of look good. So there will be skilled people that can still see through that BS. Pero
Meron na, no?
it can fly.
Meron na, no?
Kumbaga depende pa rin. Pero kumbaga yun nga. I guess maybe yun. I was fortunate enough to be in that industry na data driven talaga and heavy data analytics right from the beginning. Puro numbers.
Actually,
So
that tells me na, and we barely mentioned it, no? A lot that drives a career is the maturity of the organization about
totoo
data,
yan.
no? And about visualization. Kasi may mga iba, they don't necessarily go well together, no? Kasi
Yes.
I've met, kasi after being working in banking, working in IT, became a consultant, and ito na rin as an entrepreneur. So I've met pretty much every type of company in every type of industry. Walang pinipiling industry actually. So maybe as a good reaction to your point, yeah, I've seen the financial industries that way. But I don't think it's because of them being financial. Ironic nga, 'di ba? Financial dapat marami kang data, 'di ba?
Oo nga.
It's really maturity. Kumbaga may mga companies ang daming data pero hindi ginagamit. Okay? May iba naman maraming reports pero no one uses it.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
merong sa opposite extreme. They're doing a lot of this stuff, their decision making randomly, pero they don't have the benefit of the data and the insights, no? Yun yung three combinations. You need to have data, you need to have insight,
The
and then
balance.
you need to have data driving action, no? Pag may naputol na isa doon, the whole thing just doesn't
The Trinity.
fly. Oh, actually, that's a good
The
term, no?
data Trinity.
And it's also the way I advise mga mentees, no? Kasi I teach in school when they're saying, paano ba tong capstone presentation?
Mm.
How do you go about it? Sabi ko, you practice it the way you would present in corporate. Sabi ko, depende kung
Or,
sinong kausap. No?
ap-
So, minsan it's
applicable.
the order of the data, of the information. Eh. Pag medyo peers and below, okay lang yan. You talk about the data. I got this table,
Mm.
join. And then I
Yeah.
perform this
Technical.
analysis. Technical siya. And therefore, we should have a look at our three factories kasi mukhang tagilid na.
Ah,
Pero when you talk to executives, unahin mo muna, sir, we need to have a look at factory 1, 2, and 7. Why? Well,
yes.
here's the insight. We ran this analysis, mukhang below standard dev 3 na sila, blah, blah, blah. And you actually rarely get to data na nga eh. By that time, oh sige, I'm convinced. What is your recommendation?
Mm.
What are the the actions we need to take, no? Which you may or may not know. Pero yan naman ang maganda if you have a relationship with the business or the line unit concern.
Right.
Parang sa BPO, pag may bumagsak na metric dyan, huli agad. Sabi mo, may problema dito. And oftentimes, it's still a people problem. You know, it's easy to blame process or data, pero ang pinanggalingan naman yan tao eh. Usually,
More scientific kasi when you blame processes eh.
yeah, and maybe colder, less
Yeah,
personal,
yeah,
no?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, may problema dyan. May tao dyan. Either the manager wasn't working properly or kulang sa capacity or may maling procedure. So ultimately, you'll find a person made a mistake or something's wrong. That's
Mm.
often the hardest thing to do. Eh kung ikaw yung data provider nag-provide niyang insight na yan. Kasi in some companies, taguan ng information eh. Ganun ang nangyayari eh. Kasi pag
Oo.
lumitaw yung data, oh sheesh, huli tayo, ma-audit tayo niyan. The audit
May mga ganun nga. Until now, yan, naririnig ko yan actually. Na masama yung loob nila sa data analyst kasi napalitaw daw yung baho nila. When in fact, it's been there all along. And
yeah.
kumbaga, what game are we playing ba dito sa corporation ninyo?
There's not enough time in the hour to talk about that, no. But
Yeah.
that I think that's a very, very real thing. And
It is. Yeah.
people who get into these jobs sometimes don't expect that. Lalo na if you're early on, starting as a freshie. And then suddenly it gets political. Tapos ikaw pa yung ikaw pa yung messenger of doom. Naranasan ko yan once upon a time. I had to basically terminate people right before Christmas. I wrote about this online, the experience of it. And
I
that was based on an
I saw
Excel
that.
sheet.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just sorted people by productivity. Ganun siya ka-cold. Kasi wala
Yeah.
nang debate. I don't care how old you are, gender. Just
Tsaka you were given like a day, right?
Oo, talagang,
Oo,
oh my
naalala ko
gosh.
yun.
That was very, I still feel the trauma to. Medyo yung balahibo ko tumayo eh. I'm just recalling it.
Yeah.
That's an experience that people have to be ready for. No? And wala pa nga tayong AI eh. Yung pinag-uusapang AI. AI will be something completely different na yung nabuhay na mismo yung data. Kalaban mo na yun,
Oh.
yung data mo. Eto, tao pa rin yung nagpo-process ng data and it becomes very adversarial.
Tsaka even more kasi mismong AI na ang dahilan why we might be cutting heads. So the reality of it.
Yeah, and yun na nga sabi nga nila career limiting move sometimes.
Hmm.
That happened to me too, parang by releasing a report, you made someone look bad. Boom,
Ah,
ganun.
oo,
Who the
oo.
hell released this report? Yan si Ligot ang gumawa niyan. Okay, ganyan pala ang laro mo. And ako naman, I just ran a query and then yun yung nangyari. Kasalanan ko ba na
What? What?
bali-baliktad yung mga numero mo? So
And
it
yeah,
becomes it's fascinating, no? It's
and
something I
that's
don't
true.
miss.
Something na ano nga na the freshies, the new blood needs to be acquainted about. Pero yun, kumaga, depende rin sa organization.
Right. Sige, I wanna ask you this. We're almost at the hour, pero let's geek out a bit. Kung ikaw pagpipiliin, ano ba yung favorite type of visualization mo? What do you really love doing as
Ah,
a
seryoso ka, geek
practice?
out nga.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people probably will want to know listening to this. No? I have my own preference. I'll share ko after you.
I'm a simple man, as I've said. So, column charts lang ako. Only
Column
because
charts.
they are extremely versatile.
Mhm.
Kumbaga, if baguhan ka and you use them for trends, that's fine. If you use them for categories, then perfect. That's what they're for.
Right.
At the same time, they're one of the most universally understood charts.
Tama.
Whether percent yan, count yan, yung iloload mo sa mga bars mo, easy to understand, easy to visualize, or easy to absorb and
Right.
digest.
Right. Um, yeah, there's no arguing with that. Ako naman, I'm a big fan of the scatter plot. Kasi obviously,
Kala ko pie eh.
you know, sige, I'll get to that in a bit, no. Parang kumaga yung mga weird mga choices ko. Pero sa scatter plot kasi there's really a sense of may relationship ba o wala. Parang ganun.
Yeah, yeah.
So kung talagang it's just a blob of dots, alam mong wala.
True.
And only because
Very fascinating though.
we've
Yeah.
personal experience also, we've killed and promoted projects on the basis of a scatter plot. I mean, no joke. Kasi pag pinakita mo, may mag-assert na every time we do this, customers tend to buy. Something like that, no? And
Mm.
ako naman, sige nga, check nga natin. So, asan na yung
Show me
buying
the
column
data.
mo? Asan na yung
Yeah.
isa pang data mo? Block. And then, parang wala naman eh. And then, lagyan mo pa ng that mystical trend line, no? Kung medyo
Ah,
bumabali-baliktad. And then, kung merong correlation, correlation coefficient. I mean, that's
correct.
the start of a good debate. Now, I understand why you might have that impression. The data doesn't seem to support it. So let's work together. What is driving it? Because I mean, wala namang makakaligtas yan. If we keep doing it this way and mukhang random yung labas, aksaya sa pera yan. Kasi we're gonna be throwing money at something that technically doesn't work. It just feels like it works.
And if
And
they're new to scatterplots, napakagandang
yeah, it's a,
introduction.
it's a great introduction, but it's also very humbling. Kasi I can just imagine, this is decades ago, no? Can you imagine, this young punk throwing a scatter plot in your direction? Who the hell is this guy? Tapos, syempre, buti na lang may mga boss na marunong. Oo
Uh,
nga, tama nga si Doc. Ano ba yung pinagsasabi mo? And yan na, that creates this
uh,
disruptive mood. Later
yeah.
on in my career, I became more mellow kasi you really have to read the environment. Parang
Yeah.
parang or nowadays how I would do it is kung may tatamaan, kausapin ko muna. Sir,
Yeah.
may renan ako. Mukhang hindi supported. And there were times that I was corrected na actually mali yung query mo. Ito yung tingnan mo. And then when I ran it, okay, good.
Uh,
Kesa sa pahiyaan blues no pagdating
correct.
sa board
Kana
meeting.
kick the door, guns blazing.
Correct. And minsan may mga ganun. Parang, okay, they want to make an impression. And then
Yeah.
another
Really.
early mistake was, wala ka namang recommendation. Sige, hirit ka dyan.
Very true.
Diba? So, and then what?
Very true.
And you need to
At
do
the
that.
end, it's all about what actions are you going to take because of that
Mm,
information.
yeah,
Kumbaga, hindi naman tayo pasiklaban ng ng charts dito at
yeah.
the end of the day.
Pero column chart, yeah, very solid. Why not a line chart? Just out of curiosity. Di ba medyo
Kasi
magkapatid yun?
for me, ang column, you can kind of use it for categories and trends. Pero si line chart, medyo
Wala.
alanganin siya sa categories eh. It works beautifully with trends, pero yun, pag ano na yan, comparison of Coke and or Jollibee, McDo, Wendy's, kind of looks weird na pag naka-trend sila. Pero yun, the bar or the column yun,
Kasi you
still
can have mga stacks,
survives.
So you can detect the proportions, no,
Yeah.
in that bar. Wow, that's a really geek out question. Thanks for answering that. Okay, sige. So we're at the hour, unfortunately, but we have to save some for next episode. Ano muna? Anything you want to share? Parting thoughts about Power BI Pilipinas, or the practice in general for our audience?
Um, Final words, really more of ano lang, really, well, number one, of course, I'll use this platform to promote. Go to taplink.cc/PowerBI Pilipinas. Look for us there.
Taplink.cc. Okay.
Yeah, taplink.cc/PowerBI Pilipinas. One word lang yun. And nandun naman lahat ng links namin, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok. So, hope connect with us.
It's like a link tree tong Taplink. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. I'll
Link
I'll
tree
I'll
yan.
put I'll put this on the description. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Dami na. It's everywhere, no? YouTube,
Exactly.
Spotify.
We are everywhere.
Okay.
Ano, kumaga lahat ng mga pwede ko i-try, parang pantong mag-podcast try ka nga sa Spotify. Lahat talaga
Mm,
tinry.
yeah,
So,
I should move this to Spotify also kasi medyo marami
mm,
na yung library ko of interviews and
true. Actually, you can and you should. So, tap link and uh the other bit is if you're looking into a data career and you're in number one is I hope you're not yun yung always inisip ko na I hope money is not the main driver for you to
mm,
jump into a data career kasi you
yeah.
will get bored eh. The good thing is marami naman ako nakita na naturally just out there because they're interested about it. So yun yung kumbaga I hope this doesn't kumbaga this doesn't sound like I'm pushing people away pero what I want to just establish is know what really interests you, what keeps you alive kumbaga. maybe wala pa, and that's perfectly fine. If wala pa, then try it out. Personally, I'm less passionate about numbers when this all started. I'm more passionate about the design. Pero
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
am, kumbaga, sabi nga nung kaklase ko nung college, yeah, hindi ka mahilig sa numbers pero mahilig ang numbers sa iyo eh. So kumbaga, medyo may kumbaga slightly may gift naman ako with numbers and I can work formulas and logic naman in my head. So
Yeah.
maybe that's you as well. Maybe more nasa creative ka and if hindi mo feel to pero wala pang direction yung buhay mo, curious ka, try it out. Pero if nasa loob ka na and hindi mo talaga feel, yun yung even though it's uso, maybe people are talking about data analytics, data science, data engineering. Pero just make sure na there is something in it that still sparks some interest in you.
Some passion in you, no?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So, if it does not ignite passion, then I do feel na it's time to look somewhere else, and maybe in retail, agriculture, industry. Pero yan, we have so many other industries.
Or
Pero
you bring your data viz stuff into other fields who
oh,
desperately need it, no? Yung
pwedeng
ganun.
ganun na maybe it's just maybe yun yung magiging ano mo catalyst mo. Maybe you just need to be in a different environment. Pero yun nga, kumbaga, we live in a world, we live in a time where ang dali-dali nang matuto ng kahit ano. So I'm biased obviously with Power BI, I'm biased with data analytics, pero everyone can learn so many things now easily. And it's just a matter of you finding where your interest is at. So yeah, use the internet, use your time wisely.
Well said. I guess that's a good enough place to end it for now. Thank you, Tony, for joining the conversation. And I hope to see you again in another episode. More power to Power BI Pilipinas.
Thank you, Power. And yeah, more power to
More
AI
power.
conversations. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.